We'll go ahead and get started. We do want to thank everyone for joining us this evening, and your team at Wallace Pearson Travel really believes that it's all who you know. And tonight we are very excited to introduce you to Sebastian. He's amazing and knows all the best things about a really special partner of ours with Amawaterways. They've got some really cool things going on, and they've been sailing all summer, so they know that what they are doing is working great. And so this evening, we'd like to go ahead and turn it over to Sebastian for some extra fun tips on what to look forward to.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. For those of you who are not present live, well, trust me, when you will see this video in the recording, you will love it as well. I mean, at least I hope that. Thank you to the entire team of Wallace for welcoming me, for welcoming Amawaterways in these virtual times. Can't wait to see you all in person very, very soon, probably in early 2021. But for now, we will do with what we have. So we will try to take you tonight on a great river. And actually, if you look behind Eric, you see, actually, no, you don't, well, you just see the top of the Cathedral of Regensburg, but I will try to show you this place. This is on the Danube, so great area of the world. There you go. Now you see the cathedral. It's a great one, you know. I mean, the church windows in there, the oldest ones, are over 1,000 years old. But let's try. I will start to share to share my screen to welcome you all. I hope that everybody can see it. Yeah, welcome to the family. Welcome to Amawaterways. We are a river cruise line. We have been operating for 18 years now. Actually, our 18th anniversary was on July the 1st of 2020. And as you've just heard, we started cruising again on July the 5th. And we will talk about that in a very few minutes. But for those of you who do not know river cruising, I would like to start with describing very briefly or very easily to you what would be the difference between an ocean cruise and a river cruise. And I really like this sentence because I think it summarizes everything very, very well. Is that an ocean cruise will take you to a country and you will be basically cruising along the coast, whereas a river cruise will take you through the country. And I think that the picture that you see right there, even if it's not the Danube River, is the Rhine River, another great European river, shows you very well. You see the houses, you see the castles, and you see that the river goes really through the entire area. So our company, as I said, is 18 years old, and it was founded 18 years ago by actually two of the three individuals that you see. Well, actually there are five, but you can easily recognize if I use my cursor. You see two on the left, Christine Karst, our executive vice president, co-founder of the company, with her then colleague and nowadays husband, Rudi Schreiner, our CEO, great folks who have been leading the company since the beginning, 2002. And you see also the gentleman on the right, Gary Murphy. So he is not, as you see, under Rudi and Christine, you see co-founders, and under Gary, you see co-owner, because he's not one of the founders. His father, Jimmy Murphy, was one of the founders, but Jimmy passed away 7 years ago already. I mean, hard to believe that time flies like this. The great news is that Gary took over and basically carries on the legacy, and it is really great. It has been great to have these two families really leading us in these COVID times, because as everybody knows, there are a lot of new things to navigate, and we have had the luck to have them with us. And as I said a few minutes before, we have been cruising since July the 5th, and that's thanks to their dedication, to, I mean, the entire company's dedication, of course, but through their leadership. So you see this slide now mentioning traveling with confidence, because that's what we want. That's what we've always wanted. And in these times, we have to make sure that when we welcome guests on board, that everything is perfect. I mean, that's something that you strive for, perfection. So for the safety of everyone, we have to be extremely careful. We have safety protocols that we have studied and then put in place. And it's always a great pleasure for me week after week when I do presentations to say that, I mean, and now we say after 17 weeks that we have had absolutely zero COVID case on board our ships. This shows us, one, is that it took us a long time to reorganize, to rethink our approach when it comes to river cruising, physical distancing. You will not hear very much from me the term social distancing because I don't believe in it, because when you really look at what people ask us is to keep a physical distance, not a social distance. You want to be social with everyone. So we have been working on that. You see that our crew wears, of course, face masks. We request that also from our guests in areas where the physical distancing is not possible, which is mainly in the corridors and when you're in the lounge, walking around in the lounge. And also walking around in the restaurant before seating. When you are seated in one of these areas, of course, you will not have to wear the mask, because we figured also very rapidly, as have you, that it's much easier to eat and drink without a mask. So that's why we want to make sure that in every area where this physical distancing is possible, mainly the sun deck or any outside area in front of the ship, you do not have to wear the mask. And I think what is very interesting after these 16, 17 weeks of cruising, we started seeing statistics about how long do our guests actually wear a mask on board the ship every day. So we're around 20 minutes, 20 to 25 minutes. That's the time, and that's how long you will have to wear a mask when you're on board the ship. So you see temperature checks. Yes, because we actually, it's not only temperature checks, we have medical questionnaires that we ask our guests to fill out, one 3 weeks prior to the cruise and one even much closer, 2 days prior. And we have daily temperature checks before embarking the ship, and then every morning before going to breakfast. It's very quick. I mean, I'm sure you've done that if you've been in a restaurant or if you've been to any place. I mean, even an airport now, you have this little thermometer, clack, it takes 5 seconds, and then you're good to go. You see also that we put clean air. So clean air is something that is very important because there have been many questions lately about recirculate. Yeah, this was the big term. I'm sure that everybody has seen since March, or let's say February. I mean, you started having these words that came, and you heard these words for like 4 or 5 weeks, and then they all disappeared. And like it was, we had this term uncharted territory, and then we had the word fluid. Everything is fluid. And then all of a sudden we started hearing about recirculated air. So what is that? But basically this is something that you will see on an ocean liner or in an airplane. And this is an air that is circulated more than one time and filtered with HEPA filters. So we do have HEPA filters, but our air is not recirculated. So that's a great news. And that's the beauty of having a CEO, Rudy, who is an architect by trade, because when he built the ships, he thought about that already, not necessarily for a disease, a pandemic like the coronavirus, but there can be other things. I mean, we've all heard about how a regular flu, how a flu can be very contagious, a norovirus. I mean, you've heard of all these names. And we built the ships with these in mind to make sure that there would be no possibility of spreading the contamination. So that's why each and every cabin has its own air conditioning unit with its air intake and its air exhaust. There is no, I would say, and I'm not even sure that the term cross-contamination would be the good one, but there is no exchange between the air from the lounge and the air from the restaurant that is located below, because they have also separate intakes. So that's something that is very important, because the air that you breathe, you can be sure that it's always fresh air from the outside. It is filtered everywhere you go, but it's not recirculated. So I think that's a great point for us when many people talk about or many other friendly competitors talk about what they will do. We can tell you about what we are doing, and we don't need to adapt our ships because they were built properly from the very beginning. You also see at the bottom on the right, sanitized luggage. So that's also something very important. All guests, when they arrive from the airport or also from a pre-land extension, we sanitize the luggage. When you arrive in your stateroom, you know that your luggage is completely clean. Now, In terms of how does it look like when you are seated, exactly like this. That's in the lounge, a picture. So we did not put the plexiglass to separate the guests. I mean, I know that it's a little interesting the way they're cheering with each other here. Is just the idea is really to show you that of course you will have your privacy, but you will not have a blocked view. And these plexiglass units are here to make sure that you still can enjoy the perfect view that you have when you're cruising on one of our ships. This is, by the way, on the Danube River. Now, let's talk a little bit about the tours and about the cruise itself. So for those of you who are not familiar with river cruising, you will see a very big difference between ocean and river cruising, is that you will have very small groups. Why do you have very small groups? Because you have a very small number of guests on board. We are not talking about 3,000 people. We're not talking about 1,200. We're not even talking about 500. On board our ships in normal times, in regular times, we're talking about a maximum capacity of 150 guests. At the moment, the European authorities allow 100 guests on board, and so that's what we've been operating with. And the great thing is that, and that's for you, it's a great thing, is that they have said that when it comes to group visits, so it's between 10 and 12 guests per guide, and that's a great thing. I mean, we never had big groups to start with. It's not like some others who go with 30, 40 guests. 30, 40 guests is absolutely terrible in a sense, and not only for the guest experience, but also for the guides, because your guides are local and they want to share with you what they know, what they've seen, what the history of the area is, what the art history of an area would be. And if you do that with a small group, it will be much easier, because not only will it be, I mean, the guide will not have to control, do I have everybody yes or no, but also the guide will be able to answer your questions. And that's the thing, you know. I think it's fairly easy to assume that if you are going to go on a cruise on the Danube, like we will see, or any river, the Rhine, the Rhone, the Mekong, maybe in Asia, or even the Chobe River in Africa, between Botswana and Namibia, you might have questions for your guide, because it's fairly easy to assume that you have not been there before. So if you have 12 people on a tour that lasts about an hour and a half, there will be a real exchange. If you have 40 people, there cannot be a real exchange, simply because of the number that is too big. So small groups, very important. You see also that the guide, I mean, she has here a red little box, and you see the gentleman and the lady back there, they have gray ones. So she has a transmitter and have receivers. And that's a great thing in these physical distancing times. Everybody has a little earpiece. She's talking in a microphone, and you can hear what the guide says without being like 3 feet away behind the guide trying to understand what he or she says. That's very, very important. We include our tours. You will see in a very few moments that from all the excursions that we offer, you don't have to worry, do I have only one included per day, or what is the cost of this? They are included, period. So that makes it very easy for you. Even if there is more than one tour in one day, sometimes you will have 3 tours in one day. When you're in the Wachau Valley, which we will see in a few minutes, you will have a tour in the morning, a tour in the afternoon, a tour in the evening. Well, unlike other companies, we will let you go. If you want to do the 3, do the 3. You do not have to worry about what you will have to pay more. There is nothing more to pay in that case. We also have a great wellness program. So for those of you who like to stay active, because vacation doesn't mean that we're not active anymore. So we have wellness hosts on board. And you see, that's just an example with Andre. So our wellness host is right there on the left. And Andre is giving an introduction to yoga. And he's doing this with keeping in mind that not everybody has the same physical capabilities. We know that, I mean, our guests you know, there is a wide range of ages on board the ships. So we know that not everybody is, in this case, as flexible as the neighbor. So he always gives 3 different levels of exercise. And this you will find throughout the day, different classes. In the morning, it can be a core strengthening class, followed by the morning stretches, followed by an introduction to yoga. I have seen him doing Zumba classes, for example, on board the ship. So they have all their specialties. Some will do Tai Chi. Some will do, they are very specialized. For example, when people work in an office, they do office workouts. So all these type of things and that are available to you if you want to use it. No extra charge, everything is included. So feel free to use this wellness program. Now, of course, we have to talk about food because we cannot talk only about burning calories, and we want to talk about having some calorie intake. So the quality of our food is, I think, and I'm actually not, I don't think, I'm pretty sure, is absolutely great because we source everything locally. There is no frozen product on board our ships, and that makes a very big difference. Why? Because if you have dietary restrictions, we will be able to do à la minute, which means that we will be able to cater to a dietary restriction, a dietary request that you may have. We have multiple dining venues. I mean, depending on the ship where you will be, it will be 2 dining venues, the main one and then the chef's table restaurant. If you choose our Ama Magna, it can go up to 4 dining venues. So really a lot of choices for you. And you see, I love this picture. That's our chef's table restaurant. So it's a much more intimate setting. So only for 24 guests on board our regular ships. And you see on the Ama Magna, which is double width ship, 36 guests. And I love this picture because this is pre-COVID. I mean, everybody thinks now you must put glass everywhere. I said, we had done that before. And that's, again, an advantage. We do not have to modify our ships. Again, it was done properly from scratch. So feel free to go to the chef's table restaurant. There is no extra cost. It is a tasting menu. So you will have 7 courses, and it's a wine paired dinner. So this means you will have the wines that are served according to the courses that are being served to you as well. If you do not drink wine, do not worry. Of course, you will have the possibility to water or any soft drinks or milk that you may like. Wines, beers, soft drinks, that everything is included for lunch, for dinner. You even have the champagne that is included for breakfast. So in case you want to, it's very good for starting the circulation of the internal system. So some champagne in the morning is always very good. That's my mom who says that, and as a good French, I'm sure nobody would say anything else. And of course, we're talking about all these things, but it is very important to have a luxury experience, yes, but we must respect nature. And from the beginning, Amawaterways has always been committed to travel responsibly. And I think the best achievement we received in 2018 for our Ama Cristina, she was the first ship with the Green Award from the European Union. But as of 2019, our entire fleet is awarded with the Green Award, and we were really the first ones having. Actually, we are the first one with the entire fleet being basically recognized for all the efforts that we do in respecting nature. What do I mean with that? As you can see on the side, I mean, we are trying to reduce the carbon footprint, which means that now on our ships, like the Ama Magna that you see here, we have hybrid engines, diesel electric hybrid engines. We use LEDs. We have eliminated, for example, all the single plastic use, the bottles, the excursion bottles. We are not using that anymore. We have replaced them at the moment with Tetra Paks, but this is a temporary solution. It's already much cleaner than just having these plastic bottles that are really, really polluting. Same thing with straws, for example. And the straws, we have these paper straws, and we continue all the time. We continue to make sure that we are clean, and at every level. For example, you know that a ship always ejects water for cooling the engines, for many different things. We have weekly tests of our water by independent laboratories all along the rivers that are accredited with the local authorities. And we make sure that the water that we eject is at least as clean as the water that we took in. And not everybody can say that. So now let's talk a little bit about our cruise. We are taking you on the Grand Danube cruise. So the Grand Danube is a 2-week cruise, but you can split it. So we could do the Upper Danube first, which would be starting in Nuremberg on the ship and then going to Budapest. And then after that, from Budapest, you can go all the way down to Giurgiu in Romania. But tonight we will take you on this entire trip. And at Amawaterways, we always have pre and post land excursions or land programs. So we would start in Prague, absolutely beautiful city where you would be received by your airport team of Amawaterways, and you will then be transported to, or at least if you have taken the air with us, you will be transported in a limousine, in a private limousine, to the hotel. If you have not taken the air with us, we will of course help you getting to the hotel very briefly, very rapidly. So Prague, a beautiful city that is located in Czech Republic. This cruise is absolutely amazing because it will take you to a few countries, and you will start, if you start in Prague, you will be in Czech Republic. Then you will go to Germany, Nuremberg, Regensburg, Passau. Then you will spend a few days, actually 3.5 days in Austria. Then you will continue in Hungary. You will pass very briefly here. That's a very small part of Croatia because everybody thinks about Croatia with oceans, but you see, the Danube passes here in Croatia. Then we will continue to Serbia, Novi Sad, Belgrade. Then we will cruise through the Iron Gates. So between the Iron Gates, and that's the Danube, the lower Danube Gorge, and it's located between these countries, Romania, Serbia, and Bulgaria. And after that, cruising here until Giurgiu, between Bulgaria in the south and Romania up north. So let's go there and let's take a look at what we will be visiting. So we will go to Prague. We will spend 2 full days of excursions in Prague, which includes a visit of the Prague Castle, the largest castle complex in the world. There are many options. We know that everybody doesn't walk at the same pace, so we have different walking paces. We have a gentle walking group or gentle walking groups, depending on how many guests would take part to it. We have regular walking groups and we have active walking groups. So what's the difference? An active walking group doesn't mean that you will be running a marathon. An active walking group means that you will cover the same distance and the same points as the regular walking group, but you will not stop as much. You will have the information given on the go. And that's something that will give you, in the end, more free time. That's the idea behind the active walking group. If you want to have more free time to discover the city, to discover the Charles Bridge, for example, which is the most famous bridge in Prague, and you want to look at all these statues on your own, or you might want to just go down and just below the Charles Bridge and go to the Franz Kafka Museum or to a great restaurant that you have just along the Vltava River. You have a lot of things that you can do on your own. If you want to do that, take the active group. If you are just following what your guide wants to tell you and love being with a guide, take the regular group. You will have picture stops. You will have a lot of explanations also given to you. And if you don't want to walk that much, but that's very easy, the Gentle Walkers group, we will take you all the way up by bus to the Prague Castle. You will walk through the Prague Castle with your guide. The bus will pick you up again, and it will bring you down to the bottom of the city. So you will see all the main sites, but you will not have to walk that much. Prague Castle here again, a beautiful city that you will see. There is a visit of the city. There is a folklore dinner that is available to you. And there is also, if you are interested, a visit to the former concentration camp of Theresienstadt, Terezin. So that's quite a good program for 2 days of excursions, 2 full days of excursions in Prague. And then on the 3rd day, we will be going towards the ship and we will stop in Pilsen. And that will be pretty much our lunch stop. So you will have some free time for lunch there. Pilsen, if you think about it, if you drank beer in the past, or I don't know, maybe you will drink another beer in the future. Pils. Have you ever heard of Pils beer? Yeah, I'm sure everybody has. And actually, the Pils beer comes from this very town, Pilsen. So you will learn about it. And it is a beautiful town in Czech Republic, just before arriving in Nuremberg, where the ship would be awaiting you. So Nuremberg, beautiful city, 2 faces, multiple faces, but 2 main facets on the city. The one that you see here, I would describe it as the medieval part of the city. Nuremberg has been a free imperial city for more than 900 years, and the entire city wall and the old part of the city that you see right there is absolutely gorgeous. So you would have the possibility to have a medieval tour of Nuremberg, or you would have the possibility to take a World War II tour of Nuremberg, because there is a darker side to Nuremberg, because you know probably that that's where Adolf Hitler had built the Reichsparteitag, this huge colosseum, where he was holding, and also you had the Zeppelinfeld, the Zeppelinfeld, so these grounds where you had all these huge parades. But it's also the place where the Nuremberg trials took place, the courtroom 600. And you will see, if you're interested in this part of history, because it is an important part of history, recent, of course, you will see all these. You will visit the courtroom 600 with your guides and get really all, and you will go in the real place where these trials took place. But you might not be interested in history. You might not even be interested in the medieval part of the town. You might just be interested, for example, in Nuremberg sausages. That's where the Taste of Franconia tours comes in. And you could choose that. And you would have the Nuremberg sausages, they're absolutely wonderful. They serve them either 12 or 24. And people are always scared. When they see these numbers, they're like, my goodness, what will I do with this? But they're approximately that big. And they're approximately 3 inches long. So very easy to eat. And that would be your introduction, your first city when you will be cruising. And then we will be going on the Main-Danube Canal. And we will be cruising during the day. That's very important to be able to learn about this man-made canal that links technically the Main River to the Danube River. And if we look at the bigger picture, it links the North Sea to the Black Sea. That's why it was built. And you will be cruising on it before reaching Regensburg. And you saw behind Eric's head a little bit earlier, you saw the spire of the Cathedral of Regensburg. Absolutely superb city where you will have the possibility between a bike tour, because we have 20 bikes on board and there are a lot of guided bike tours during these cruises. So if you want to do that, feel free to. If you want to go and have a taste of the Regensburg sausages, for example, there is a beautiful restaurant right there. That's just in the bridge right here. It's called the Sausage Kitchen. So when you go there, it's very easy because there's only one meal, one dish that is served, and it's been like this for more than 750 years. Regensburg sausages with sauerkraut. And the Regensburg sausage, of course, the Regensburger people say that they are the best at making sausages. The Nuremberg people say that they're the best, but they look exactly the same. But I'm sure that if you go there, you will taste the difference. If you want to learn about all the medieval history of the city, you will as well. Because Regensburg has not been destroyed in no world war, because it had no strategic interest. There was no major railroad, there was no ammunition factories, nothing there. So that's why the city is original. It's a beautiful, beautiful place. Then you will continue, and this will be your last town in Germany, and it will be Passau, where you will have as well the possibility to hike, because we have also the hike tours, taking you to the Beste Oberhaus, or to visit the city where you will discover the most wonderful cathedral, a Baroque style cathedral that you will, I believe, ever see. And this one has also the largest church organ in the world, over 31,000 pipes in this church organ. Absolutely superb time that you will spend in Passau. And then we will enter Austria. And in Austria, we will go to Linz. And from Linz, you will be able to visit Salzburg. You will be able to visit the so-called Salzkammergut, which is the Austrian Lake District. If you have seen, for example, the movie the Sound of Music, the Sound of Music, when you see the Mondsee, where you have the church and the lake, that's where you will go, and you will see all these sites. A really beautiful time. And if you decide you don't want to go there, but don't worry, you can also enjoy Linz on your own. Linz is a beautiful town, and we stay there the entire day, because you will see that on a cruise that lasts 14 days, but also on an 8-day cruise, sometimes you want to just take a little break, and the ship is open for you. You never have to go on a tour. You can, they're all included, but if you decide you don't want to go, just don't, and enjoy the time. You will visit Melk. So Melk, absolutely beautiful place at the entrance of the Wachau Valley, where you visit the Benedictine Abbey. For those of you, for example, who love reading books, one great book to get familiar with the area would be The Name of the Rose, written by Umberto Eco. There's also even a movie with the late Sean Connery, who was there as a monk. So it's a medieval thriller, but the important is that the movie basically is based on the book, and the book was written by Umberto Eco just after he visited this abbey. So it is a beautiful place, and it's also a beautiful area of the world here, the Wachau Valley, with all these, and that's what you would experience. And you have great wines. If you like wines, I mean, you will not be disappointed in this area of the world, because we have, of course, the Wachau Valley wines with the very famous Grüne Veltliner, so this white wine, very crisp, very peppery. Actually, they call it a pepper in Austria. This very peppery note that you have in the wine. But you have also red wines like the Saint Laurent kind of grape. You have really great stops there, and we have wine excursions. For example, this village here that you see is called Spitz. Spitz is where you have, and that's actually you see these here at the bottom left. These are the first vineyards, the first rows of vineyards of the 1,000 bucket hill. That's really the name of this hill. Since the medieval times, because at the time, since then, they were bringing 1,000 buckets of grapes, which was a huge quantity for one single vineyard on a hill. And you will learn about all this. It's a beautiful area of the world. Dürnstein at the end of the Wachau, very famous for two things. Of course, the blue tower of its monastery. I'm sure that if you looked at some brochures about Austria, the blue tower of Dürnstein is pretty much everywhere, but also the ruin up there. And that's the Dürnstein Castle. That's the place where Richard the Lionhearted was imprisoned when he came back from the Third Crusade. He was captured and imprisoned here for almost 6 months. And you will learn about the entire history. How was he captured? How was he liberated by his Menestrel, whose name was Blondel? And actually, this place here now, that's a hotel. And it is called Zum Sänger Blondel, so to the Menestrel Blondel. And you will have a beautiful time visiting this area of the world before continuing to my favorite city, Vienna. Absolutely superb. Great architecture. Actually, Vienna is very interesting because it's been elected for the 8th year in a row, best city in the world with the best quality of life. And it's not based on any, I mean, of course, financial aspect is in there, but it's based on the UNESCO's Human Development Index, which really encompasses a ton of things. Price of the housing, quality of the food, access to education, culture, quality of the transportation, how green, so is the city respectful of the environment, prices of public transportation, I mean, a ton of different things, how many museums, how many universities you have there. And Vienna is really a wonderful city that you will have time. We have a complete day, 24 hours in Vienna to start enjoying it. And you will see when you do a cruise like this, I think that the most important is to get a nice overview. You see all these places like close to Neuburg. And that's what you want to do, to get an overview, to see these places. And then when you have more time, you come back and enjoy them. Same thing for Budapest. We will arrive and spend a full day in Budapest, where you will visit the city. You will learn about the rivalry, actually, between Vienna and Budapest until the middle of the 17th century. Because these two cities were competing, 18th century. They were competing regarding which one would be the capital of the Austro-Hungarian Empire. You will hear all about the Habsburgs family, about Empress Sissi. And so you will learn about all these things, and you will learn about the architecture. Actually, this place that you see right there, Fisherman's Bastion, absolutely beautiful, beautiful piece of architecture that looks like a line of defense on the hills of Buda side, but it's just here for decoration. It looks like it's been built in the medieval times. It was built approximately 120 years ago, but it is absolutely superb. Look at this. You will have the possibility to discover Budapest by night. And I encourage you, when you will go on these cruises, visit the city during the day, see it again during the night. There will be a lot of time. We don't have to rush. You have time. So there will be a lot of time. You will be really able to discover a city during the day and during the night, and they look completely different. So that's something that is superb. We will also take you to the Pusta. The Puszta is the Great Plain of Hungary, and that's where the so-called Hungarian post, what this gentleman is doing here, that's where it was invented. And you will have a horse show if you want to go and visit the Puszta with a beautiful meal. There will be a meal at the horse riding school at the end where you will taste the Hungarian goulash and all other sorts of Hungarian specialties before continuing our way on what I would call now the lower Danube. We've done the first part of the cruise, and now let's continue towards Mohacs. And Mohacs is, the city itself is not very impressive, but Pécs is. And you see this church, I love this church here. And I told you, I promised I would not talk too much about churches, but this one needs to be addressed because it's a church mosque. Over history, this building has been a mosque and a church and a mosque again. And there are a few examples of these, not a lot. I mean, for example, the Hagia Sophia in Istanbul was built, the so-called Pink Mosque, was built as a church originally, became a mosque, then became a museum, and now it's about to become a mosque again. So you have a few of these buildings that have that tortured or changing history, but Pécs is absolutely beautiful because of the number of students. It's one of the most active student cities in Hungary. It was also elected in 2018, European Capital of Culture. So it was really a great time for them, and it put some spotlights on this beautiful city. That's the main square that you see right there. And you spend a morning walking around with your guides. There is, for example, a Roman necropolis in the heart of the city, and you will visit that as well to see, I mean, how well preserved these artifacts that are more than 2,000 years old are. Then we will continue. I mentioned to you we would stop in Croatia, so you will visit Vukovar, or you also have the possibility to have a wine tasting in Ilok. And Ilok is a very small village, but there, when you go and taste the Croatian wines, that's something that I'm sure you've never heard of, simply because why don't we hear about them? Simply because their production is too small. So where do they drink it? They drink it there. And it would not make sense for them to export them all over the world, because first of all, they would need distributors to come to the United States, etc., etc., and they don't have the quantity. So I mean, basically, what would be the purpose of starting selling wine and after 1 week you're out? Would not make any sense. So you will have the possibility to taste the Principovac wines, and it's absolutely wonderful. Very nice Chardonnays, and also some fortified wines. So as you can see here, so that's a fortified wine. I mean, the most one that we know most, of course, is the port wine, but you have some very interesting ones in Croatia. And then we will go to Serbia. So now don't forget, Croatia, Serbia, all these countries, they were called, until not so long ago, Yugoslavia. But Yugoslavia, at the end of the 20th century, exploded. There was a very bad conflict. But now they have all made peace with that part of the time, and they are all, or almost all of them, living and looking forward. And Novi Sad in Serbia is a beautiful place, a beautiful, beautiful place. It's called the Athens of Serbia. It is really a wonderful, it's just along the river. You can walk. The city center, what you see here, is approximately 8 minutes walk from the ship. You have the possibility to visit Petrovaradin, which is a beautiful fortress. And this fortress, you will learn about them. You will hear about them. I did not mention on the Wachau. You will see other fortresses. And they've been here since the 16th century, because you will learn about the Ottomans. And the Ottoman Empire was coming, 1563, for example, the Battle of Mohacs. And you will hear about all these fortresses that have been built along the Danube to stop the Ottoman invasion. Unfortunately, in this area of the world, it did not work very well, but the Ottomans never went further than basically 20 miles east of Vienna. They never took Vienna. There is one bend between Slovakia and Austria, and that was the end for the armies of Suleiman the Great. Then we will go to Belgrade, also one of my favorites in this area. Not like Vienna, it has a different flavor. It's completely different. But Belgrade is on two rivers, so the ship will be docked right here. So that's the docking location. And you will have the possibility to learn about Joseph Tito. Tito was a very, very important person. He maintained Yugoslavia basically for what it was. He was the only one talking to the Russian as tough as he would talk to the United States. He was respected by both parties, and he's still nowadays very much respected by the Serbians. So a great city that you have, and where we spend also an entire day. So really a beautiful place. You will visit the Kalemegdan Fortress, which is located just on the left part of the screen, and you will have a wonderful bike ride. You know, you will have also free time, because you will have the possibility to do a tour in the morning, but you might not want tours all the time as well. So you will have free time, and we even have shuttle buses. Same thing in Vienna, in Budapest. When we when you need to have some free time, we have also shuttle buses taking you to the very heart of the city in a few minutes. We will, after that, continue cruising towards the Iron Gates. And the Iron Gates are a wonderful place of the world. It is, you will be cruising for 24 hours. So it's a full day of cruising. And you see this building here in the middle, very small, just above the freight ship here. So you see a face here on the right of the screen. So that's the face of King Decebal. And you will learn King Decebal was the first king of Dacia. And Dacia is pretty much the former name, geographically speaking, of Romania. But you will hear about Decebal. You will hear about the gentleman who carved this face in the cliff, because it was carved actually at the end of the 20th century, 1990, by a gentleman called Dragan Ficit. And you see this little village, this little building here, just for you to see with the next picture how big the face will be, because that's the building. So it is quite a big monastery, and it looks so small on the previous picture that you can imagine the size of the carving that is located right here. And you will have your captain stopping right there in order for you to be able to take pictures of these wonderful sites. It is a beautiful area of the world. And when we will come out, we will be in Bulgaria, where you will visit Baba Vida, which is located in Vidin, and you will also visit the beautiful fortress of Belogradchik. And Belogradchik is a fortress that I really love, because you see that it's built in a rock formation. So they have used at the time, that's from the 13th century, and they have built at the time, they used their natural environment to protect the entire area. A wonderful afternoon. I will tell you that there is really a tour for gentle, for regular, and for active walkers. And then there is a hike, and the hike will take you all the way up here. It is a real hike, but I will tell you that the view that you have at the end is really rewarding, because that's the end of the Carpathian Mountains. So you see, these hills that you have, these mountains that you have there are the Carpathians coming down, and you will have a beautiful view on the Danube Plain and the Carpathian Mountains. If you don't want to go to Belogradchik, you will be able to taste the local specialties. There are other tours where you will taste the banitsa or the Bulgarian yogurt. You will have a bike tour that will be offered to you. So really a lot of choices once again, before arriving in Russe, which is pretty much the last stop. Russe and Giurgiu. Russe is in Bulgaria, Giurgiu is on the other side of the river in Romania, but you will have the possibility to visit beautiful places like this one here on the right, Veliko Tarnovo. And Veliko Tarnovo, you probably never heard of it. It is the former capital city of Bulgaria in the medieval times. And this city is absolutely beautiful. It is built, the fortress that you see there with the church on top, built on two different valleys. And the fortress goes all along. And this is something that I could spend hours and show you hundreds of pictures. You need to go and see that. It is absolutely beautiful. And you will have lunch there. It's the lunch that day is not on the ship, is out there. And you really want to do that, because as far as I'm concerned, the quality of the produce there, the vegetables that they have, I've never found it anywhere else. And trust me, French people are usually very proud of the quality of their food, but these are the best. These are simply the best salads I've ever had. I love to go there for two things: the salads and the pita bread that they make. It's absolutely amazing. But we will arrive at the end of our cruise, and we will be disembarking in Giurgiu, and the city that you see here is Bucharest. And I like to show this because Bucharest, look at this, you're like, oh my goodness, that's really still communist times. Nothing has changed. And this is one way to see the city. Actually, you know that this street here actually was built on the model of the Champs-Élysées. And that's exactly what they wanted. And actually, it's exactly the same width. In this way, it's called the Paris of the East, but that's really pretty much the only street that looks like that. But Bucharest is very interesting because it will give a contrast to the post extension. And I know that this picture is spooky, but that's really how it looks like. Bran Castle, we will take you there. You will visit the castle of Vlad Dracul, which then became Dracula. And it is absolutely amazing to see, because there is no special effect here or anything. It's just that when you have clouds coming over this castle, all of a sudden it looks like in a horror movie or in a Dracula movie. If you go there and it's sunny, you will say, oh, but that's the most beautiful place on earth. And this area of the world is really beautiful. We will stay in Brasov, and that's where we'll have our hotel, a wonderful hotel, really ultra modern. I mean, very nice accommodations that we have for you also when we are not on the ship. But you will learn about Sighișoara, about the UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and you will learn about the real history of Vlad Dracul. So Vlad the Dragon, basically, because Dracul means the dragon. And you will hear about the whole history and how the legend came. But you will visit also places like Pelish. And just think about the picture that you just saw from Bucharest. And then you see that. And you're like, I mean, the first time I went there, I was like, that's not possible. I'm not in the same country. And that's just 1.5 hour drive north. So you're in really for a treat on this post extension. And then at the end, before flying back home, you will be able to have a stay. So you will stay overnight in Bucharest at the Hilton, which is a super place, and really enjoy the city of Bucharest. So that's what I have for you tonight. So now, if we have questions or remarks, I would like to open the conversation. Eric, if you want to turn on the microphones, you can feel free to do so. You know that the very important thing is to go and see your team at Wallace Pierce Travel, because we at Amawaterways do not advertise. So for those of you who have never heard of us, that might be the reason. But the only way we work from the beginning is that we work with our travel partners. As a matter of fact, 96% of all our bookings are made with our travel partners. They're the ones who will be able to give you the best deals. And that's why I'm not going to talk to you about what you will have to pay for these, because there are many components that come in. Do you take the air? Do you take the insurance? I mean, insurance is something that is becoming very popular these days. Would you take a stateroom on the first floor, on the second, on the third? Do you want a suite? And all these things, that's what they all will be able to help you with. That's the most important. And one thing that I can tell you, that's for sure, is that you will not get the deal or the perks, the amenities, the prices that you can get with them. I mean, we would never be able to match that. That's the basic. We want to work with our travel partners. They trust us. We trust them. And that's how it's been for 18 years, and we are continuing this way for the next 18.
It is a beautiful partnership, and I have to say, Sebastian, I kind of feel like all of us should go with you, and because I feel like if food and wine are all important, you've got all the right places staked out.
They are, and you know how it is. I mean, if when there is if let's say that you're going with a group, I mean, you're putting a group together, because that's also the nice thing. When you go on a cruise like this, nobody knows each other at the beginning, and then after 1 day or two you start. And that's why we have this sip and sail. I mean, we call it the cocktail hour. I call it really the social hour, because that's really what you see when you have so many tours in 1 day. I mean, even if you're a group, people have different centers of interest. So some will go on a bike tour, some will go on the hike, some will go just maybe on a terrace along the river and just enjoy a little glass of wine. God knows. But what you see is that everybody starts talking at the end of the day. And when people get together, they know each other, but you really make a ton of friends. And I'm sure, Andrew, you could testify on that, because it's really what happens. And you know, I've seen that when you have this, we had to change. Actually, when you've been on the ship, we had this cocktail hour, and the cruise manager usually talks 15 minutes prior to dinner, you know. But we had to change that, because this cocktail hour is kind of an open bar. So what happened is that when you have people drinking and talking to each other for 45 minutes, and then you have the cruise manager talking, nobody cares. So what we've done now, we have the cruise manager talking first, and then we let them drink. That's how it goes.
There you go.
But
Well,
yeah, really, feel free to reach out to everyone. And do we have questions?
we do have a couple. I know one of the ones that came in is, can you tell us a little bit about other destinations in case they've already kind of seen some of these, although that was awfully in-depth.
Of course. I mean, we have, other destinations. When you think about Europe, just next year, for example, we will come up with 5 new destinations. And so of course, the rivers are not new. The rivers, they're what they are, they're not changing. But we will have a new itinerary, for example, completely different area, but the Nile. And I say it will be completely new because the way we're doing it, it will be a special itinerary. We will start with 3 nights in Cairo at the Four Seasons there. You stay 3 nights, so we will have, of course, a visit of the city. Then on 2 we go to Giza and we visit and the pyramid sites. You will see the Great Sphinx. You visit the solar boat museums, and it's a full day thing. If you've ever been in this area, there is one very, very famous restaurant. It's called the Mena House, MENA House. That's where we take everybody for lunch, because you really have what I call lunch with a view, because you're just facing to Cheops and Kefren. They're just right there, the 2 largest ones. And it's a beautiful site. So we start with this. Then we board the Amadalia in Luxor. So we would have to fly there. And the Amadalia is brand new, because when you hear about many competitors, a new ship in Egypt, basically usually that has been repainted. But we didn't do that. We have a brand new ship, and if we want to talk about that more in detail, I'm more than happy to come back and talk about it. And after that, at the end of the cruise, you go all the way to Aswan. Where you have the possibility even to take another flight to visit the Abu Simbel, which I think basically if you go to Egypt and don't visit Abu Simbel is like, going to Vienna and say that you don't want to hear a Viennese concert, or you go to Paris and you don't want to see the Eiffel Tower or something like that. And then you come back and you have another night in Cairo. But that's the 11 nights, that's the block, that's the base program. And then around this, you can add pre-cruise or pre-Egypt program. You can add 3 nights in Dubai, or you can also add 4 nights in Jordan, in Amman and in Petra. And after the cruise, after the block, you can also add a 4-night post-extension in Israel, which would take you to Tel Aviv, to Jerusalem, of course, but then visiting Masada and going to the Black Sea. So that's one big thing coming next year. My favorite next year is that in Normandy, where I'm from, we are now basically not doing a Paris to Paris like everybody else does. We will just go one way, and we have a pre or a post extension depending on the direction in Brittany. And then we will go to the Mont Saint Michel. We will stay in Saint-Malo, which is absolutely amazing for people who don't know. And I love to talk about Saint-Malo because of the pirates. Because it is a real, historically speaking, it is a real pirate city. And there is a link to the Caribbeans and also to Tampa in this city, because many people don't know, but the NFL team, the Buccaneers, well, it comes from the French term, which is called boucanier. And boucanier, was very much used by pirates in the Caribbean, but it was used before that in Brittany, because boucan is noise, okay? And the boucaniers were the pirates who were firing the cannons against the royal forces. So they were the men who were making the noise.
Yeah.
And you stay there, and we stay in a beautiful hotel in the heart of the fortified city. It's completely fortified still. It's a great time, and people who go and see the Mont Saint Michel, they just love it. It is a great addition. We're also adding Burgundy to our Rhone cruise. So we have our Ama Christina now going. We will have 2 ships on the Rhone River and 2 ships in Normandy. And the Burgundy addition will be great as well, because we will have a pre-cruise in Geneva, Annecy. So we will do Switzerland the really western part of the Alps, and Annecy is beautiful. It's called the Venice of the Alps. Right? It's you have canals everywhere, and then we go to Dijon. So of course, Dijon. I could talk to you about Dijon very much. I mean, everybody knows Dijon for the mustard, but there is a little more than the mustard in Dijon. And then we go from Chalon-sur-Saône, and that's what I think is great. Again, you have so many different aspects. For example, you could have people who are interested in photography, and you will embark the ship in Chalon-sur-Saône. I mean, a city that I'm pretty sure 99.9% of people here have never heard, but that's where photography was invented. Nicéphore was from Chalon-sur-Saône, and the museum and the house where the first picture ever was taken, it's like 50 yards away from the, and you can go there. It was a portrait from his wife, took 8 hours, and you can really see. I mean, for example, you're interested in wine, we will go to visit Cluny, and Cluny is it's an abbey very close to Cîteaux. And Cîteaux, that's where you had an abbot, called Bernard of Clairvaux. And he's the one who invented wine made of Pinot Noir. It's not right there in the area where you are. You will go to Lyon, food capital of France. Everybody thinks, that's what I love when people say, so I've never been to France. Yes, I've been to Paris. Wow, so you've been to Paris, you don't know France. I mean, but when you start visiting all these areas that are completely remote, and where people have absolutely no idea what they will see, and that's the beauty, I think, when they come back and they're like, okay, that was a great day. And then day 2 and day 3 and day 5, and they were like, they don't even remember what they saw 3 days before, but then they look at the picture and say, oh yes, that's where we did this, that's where we did that. And that's the beauty of a river cruise, I think, is that the experience is not, you will never hear me bashing liners because I like to be on an ocean liner too, but there's a very big difference. An ocean liner, the experience is on the ship. A river cruise ship, the experience is the destination where you go. That's what will make the difference.
I think one other question that we had to, really, you could kind of do anywhere from maybe 7 days to 21 days without repeating. How kind of give us a range on that one, if I'm off?
Yeah. So you have multiple possibilities. I mean, so 7 nights, that's the standard duration of a cruise. And after that, you can combine. So for example, what I just said, the Grand Danube, that's a 14 nights. But if you had the 4 nights already in Transylvania, and then you would add 3 nights in Prague, you're already at 20 days there. You could also do, and I've done that in the past as a cruise manager, you start, because I talked about Romania, but we also have an alternative. We can start from Istanbul. And that's also absolutely amazing. I mean, Istanbul I love Istanbul. I mean, the only thing that I don't love about Istanbul are the taxis. But I found a way to avoid that part because they are absolutely crazy. But what you do is that just take an iPad, you tell the guy where you want to go, and then when he tells you we have arrived, then you take your eyes off the iPad, and then you don't have to look outside what's happening. But we will be staying. Don't know if you've been there, but for those of you who would be familiar, in Istanbul, when you're in Sultanahmet, the Blue Mosque, you have the Pink Mosque, so the Hagia Sophia that I was mentioning earlier, and very close to it, you have also the cistern, the Great Cistern. And in between, right there, you have you have also Topkapi Palace just behind the Pink Mosque. But you have also one great hotel, which is the former Roman prison, and that's the Four Seasons. And that's where we stay. It's a super small hotel. But you're in the heart of everything. I mean, you can even walk to the Spice Bazaar. You can go to the Great Spice Bazaar in like 15 minutes. You can go to the Grand Bazaar in 25 minutes. I mean, when you're at the cistern, you walk down, it's 15. And you could really start in Istanbul and then go all the way to Amsterdam, technically. So or even to Paris. You could combine, do the Grand Danube, the Main, then go a little bit on the Rhine, turn on the Moselle, finish in Luxembourg, finish in Paris. So you can go up to 29 days.
Let's do it. I'm in.
I love it. So, and even in France, you can combine. You can do a trip, for example, on the Rhone, one direction, because all the ships in France embark and disembark the same day. And that's designed like this, because you could disembark the ship in Lyon in the morning, take the bullet train to Paris, and then embark for a cruise on the Seine. or you could start with the Seine, take the bullet train to Bordeaux, and start with a wine cruise in Bordeaux. I mean, you know, there are a lot of possibilities.
Well, I'm ready to go. I wish we had a crystal ball so we could know the exact date, but it won't be much longer now.
It will come soon. It will come
Very
soon.
soon.
Don't worry.
Yes.
Yeah.
We'll look forward to putting a group together and bringing some fun friends.
And it is nice. I mean, even families, you know, I mean, I see that more and more. Really, a lot of, I think the most I've had on, and I think it was on the Upper Danube. It was a Binshofen. So Binshofen is just outside Passau, because we have cruises starting from Nuremberg, but we have also cruises starting from Binshofen, which is a beautiful little village. I had 4 generations on board the ship. There were 22 people, but you had 4 generations on the ship, and that's where we even have connecting cabins. So you have cabins where the wall really opens, so that you know you don't have to go around in the corridor. No, you can really connect. So people do that more and more, and that's a great thing. I mean, we'll do that soon. I'm not worried. 2021, we're coming.
That's right. We're ready. Okay. Well, I think that might wrap it up for tonight as far as the questions go. And we can't thank you enough for all the amazing information. You can feel the excitement. And we'll look forward to having you here in person really soon, and look forward to getting out on those rivers too.
Same here. And we can do other nights like this. I mean, we can you know, do a little presentations with, and we can just adapt the region where the wine comes from.
That sounds good.
That's very easy. That's very easy to do.
Good.
Okay, well, thank you very much for having me.
Thank you,
and if there are questions, I'm around. Have a great evening, everyone, and I look forward to seeing you on board. And in person when I come to the northern part of the state.
Okay, sounds great.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you for coming, for joining.
Okay, thank you.
Good night, everyone.
Good night.
Bye.
Night.